Lawrence Clausen, a relative of the Dicks, is carrying was given to Hilda's grandmother in the early 1900s as well. It has a decorative satin stripe, and the lower end of the wooden handle has an opal embedded in it. A very unique item indeed. Taking off her linen coat, Lauren shows us a warm woolen petticoat, handmade and worn by Hilda Dick's grandmother in the early 1900s as well. Crocheted off-white cotton trims the neckline and armholes. The high-waisted skirt flares out and is decorated with off-white stitching. Burgundy hand-crocheted lace on the hem gives this garment the perfect finishing touch. Felt petticoats were worn for warmth on cold winter days. Perhaps Lauren would have appreciated wearing this petticoat a few days ago to ward off our Manitoba July temperatures. Thank you, Lauren. Edgar Dick's mother wore this lightweight fine cotton petticoat approximately 90 years ago. It is accented with tiny tucks and a delicate lace top and bottom. The skirt is gathered at the bottom for fullness. The lower half of the garment has an outer skirt accented with 110 tiny 6-inch tucks and a band of gathered lace. The outer skirt is longer at the back and follows as a train, a beautiful undergarment. Ingrid Miller models this beautiful item today. She is the granddaughter of the lady who actually wore this petticoat. Approximately 100 years ago, this delicate, detailed gown was worn in the Ukraine and brought to Canada by Edgar Dick's grandmother. It features an attached silk petticoat with a support bodice. The petticoat skirt has a layer of tiny pleats, adding fullness to the 6 pleats of the lower skirt attached to the petticoat. The outer skirt is gently gathered at the waist with 4 long pleats, front and back. The skirt rises in a V at the back to reveal the 6 pleats attached to the petticoat. Trimmed with delicate lace and a silk belt, this gown shows us the beauty of the fashions from the past. Thank you very much, Ingrid. I should mention that these last 4 items that have just been modeled can be viewed at the Steinbach Mennonite Heritage Museum. This delicate blouse was worn by Wendy DeCantic's great-grandmother in 1911. Today it is being modeled by Angela Martins. The fitted sleeves are made of lace intermittent with tulle and fastened with hooks and eyes at the wrists. The bodice is made of a medium-weight lace that extends over it a side inset of fine lace and tulle. Notice how the high neck collar reaches the chin and is held up with tiny covered wires sewn inside the collar on either side of the neck. Hooks and covered eyes form the back closure of this garment. Thank you, Angela. Anne now wears another of her grandmother's handmade aprons. It features hairpin lace and a very interesting cross-stitch design. Small colored beads are sewn into the pattern. Anne carries a very old feather fan used by her great-grandmother on those warm afternoons in the 1880s. Anne's great-grandmother must have appeared regal hosting an afternoon of fun and good food a century and a half ago. Thank you, Anne. Frances Stangl models a typical house dress circa 1931. As with almost all of the dresses from that era, fabrication was of 100% cotton and came in bright prints or pastel florals. Unfortunately, it required careful ironing. Additional fabric provided for a bib apron and matching sunbonnet. House dresses were usually sewn by the housewife, who added a crisp white collar for design and interest. A comfortable Oxford completes the fashion picture in the 1930s. Thank you, Mrs. Stengel. Here we have Tessa Tkachuk modeling her great-grandfather's dress. His name was Melvin Stetler. This dress is made of organdy and trimmed with lace. The bodice and sleeves are one piece with lace edging on the neck and sleeves. Tucks at the square neckline form a gathering, which is taken up at the dropped waistline with a row of eyelet. Scalloped cotton brocade forms the skirt of this tiny tots dress. Dark stockings and black shoes were worn with this outfit, as well as a large bow worn either in the hair or around the neck. Very fashionable in the early 1900s. Thank you, Tessa. Kathy Tkachuk is modeling her grandfather's William Henderson Royal Northwest Mounted Police jacket, which he wore between the years 1916 and 1920. Doesn't she look smart? Completing her outfit, she's wearing black stirrup pants and boots. Her grandfather emigrated to Toronto from Ireland in the early 1900s, and he left the force shortly after the 1920. Thank you. In 1908, Samuel Vincent McCrae wore this red serge mountie jacket and cap while attending the 55th Regiment of the Magentic Light Infantry in Quebec. Samuel Vincent was 17 years old at the time and held the rank of lieutenant. The jacket features an officer's button on both shoulders. The cap has a mottled leather band, making it very unique. Our model, Chris Friesen, is wearing the original silver-plated holster with sword and sheath. Truly a family keepsake. Vincent McCrae's gun and powder keg can be seen in the Elm Creek Centennial Museum. Mr. McCrae is Chris's great uncle. Thank you, Chris. The distinctive scarlet tunic has been part of the RCMP uniform since the establishment of the force in 1873. The scarlet tunic was originally part of the daily worn uniform, but is now a ceremonial dress only, together with the broad-brimmed Stetson, riding breeches, riding boots, and spurs. The famed scarlet color of the dress tunic is the only part of the uniform that has never changed in the 119-year history of the force. John Rempel was accepted as a recruit for training with the RCMP in 1970 and served until 1974. We thank John for modeling his uniform for us this afternoon. I know I wouldn't mind being arrested by an officer like that. Our models, Dylan, Jared, and Kevin, are proud to wear these uniforms. Great coat and cap worn by Eddie Walmsley from April 1941 to November 1945 in the Royal Canadian Air Force. The warm helmet and blue wool hat were worn when needed in cold weather while flying in different aircrafts. Eddie was a flight sergeant serving as a wireless air gunner. He was posted first in Canada after graduation and then to the West Indies for the duration of the war. Thank you very much, boys, for modeling those uniforms. Wilma Miller wore this Girl Guide uniform in the 1940s. The uniform is a dark navy with a red tie, which has the Girl Guide pin on it. The emblem placed above the pocket was usually a flower or a symbol of nature, which denoted the patrol. This one being the Forget-Me-Not Patrol. The insignia and ribbons on the sleeve indicate this guide is a member of the 1st Elm Creek Troop. The Their leader at that time was Mrs. E. Matthews. Our girl guide today is Arlene Peterson. Thank you, Arlene. This little navy tunic made of wool blend was worn with a white blouse and was fashionable for many decades from the 1930s to the 1950s as a school uniform. Modeling for us this afternoon is Alicia Robinson, granddaughter of Beulah Stangel Morrison, who wore this same tunic in the 50s to St. Charles Convent in Winnipeg. A dress code such as this certainly would solve the daily what to wear problems experienced by present-day teens, don't you think? Thank you, Alicia. Cheryl wore between 64 and 66. Thank you very much, Krista. In the roaring 20s, many men could be seen in a coonskin coat such as this one, owned by Arnold Miller and worn today by his grandson, Brian Miller. It's not meant for a July afternoon, but was warm and cozy on a frosty winter night. The special driving mitts from the horse and buggy era have the forefinger separate from the others so that it is easier to hold onto the reins. The mitts are made of beaver fur on the back, have leather palms, and a sheepskin lining. These mitts were owned by Murphy McKay of Culross. Notice the fur-lined hat with earmuffs. Thank you, Brian. Flapper dresses were very popular in the fashion scene in the 1920s. Clara Butikofer is modeling a replica of this style. Flung around her neck is a feather boa which belongs to Ann Butler. This is a go-anywhere, anytime dress. Clara could dance up a storm doing the Charleston or any other dance of that era. Have fun, Clara. In 1916, Bob Meadmore wore this baseball uniform when he played on the Dakota baseball team. It's worn today by his granddaughter, Jennifer Winters. Thank you, Jennifer. It is 60 years old. Made of wool, the shirt was worn over a pullover sweater and tucked into the pants. The pants are gathered at mid-calf, giving the wearer more room for movement, and the elastic helped to hold up matching socks. Len was number 4, and the CBC stands for Culross Baseball Club, which was sewn on by Len's mother. We don't know their batting average, but understand they were a winner team. The cap naturally completes this baseball outfit, modeled by Kevin Butler. Thank you, Kevin. You look like a winner to me. Here comes our curler of the year. Modeling Reg Tibbetts' curling sweater is called Over. This comfortable green sweater, trimmed with red, is made of wool to assure you of warmth. Notice the Elm Creek crest. The fedora completes his outfit. Paul is showing us 3 kinds of curling brooms. The first one, the kitchen corn broom, the flat broom, and the push broom, which has become so popular with the younger curlers. I'm sure any one of us wouldn't mind having Paul skip our team. Thank you, Paul. Down through the years, Elm Creek has been known for its hockey talent. With us today, we have Bradley and Matthew Tkachuk, who are following in their father's footsteps. Thank you for showing us those uniforms, boys. Wearing her figure skating outfit of 1992 is Tanya Rempel, made of spandex lycra with an organdy skirt, detailed with lace, sequins, beads, and rhinestones. She surely impressed the judges at the Gold Free Test this spring. The garment was sewn by Mary Sawatsky of Winkler, and the beads and detailing were completed by Albina and Tanya. Thank you, Tanya. Clara Beautycoper has been kind enough to do the commentation for the next part of the show. Clara? She'll be right here.
This navy gabardine business suit worn by Jean Polson, nee Tibbet, for office work in 1951 is being modeled by Lucille Hayward. The fitted jacket is double-breasted and features buttons on the flaps of the imitation pockets. Notice the sharp pleats on the back. The skirt is straight with a small hemline slit in front and back. For an added accessory, a silver fox stole may be worn with it, which was popular in the 40s. This beautiful fur piece belongs to Florence Lepp. Thanks, Lucille. This beautiful red velvet dress also belongs to Florence Lepp and is modeled by Lauren Clausen. Velvet in the 60s was top fashion. Notice how well this dress is designed, giving it a slimming effect to the bodice and then swinging out into a pleated skirt. A very special dress for a special occasion. Thanks, Lauren. This little black dress, modeled by Kim Boachik, dates back to the 50s and 60s and would put any young girl on the top fashion list of today. This dress took the Stangle girls to many a party. Another craze of the 50s was drapes. They were tailor-made pants with wide legs and narrow ankles. The width was called the drape, so you ordered a 21-inch or a 24-inch drape. The bigger the number, the wider the leg. The seams down the side of each leg are called pleats. Some had 1, 2, or 3, and some had none. Angela Martins is wearing Bernice Drose's blue wool hair quite nicely.